Alton and Elizabeth doing a much unscheduled appearance here on the YouTuber for
Someone just
Quarantine
put, come
Kitchen.
on, 3,000. We don't, no,
What
3,000 is,
3,000? No, no, no. There's like 6 people watching, but that's okay. We
we
don't mind.
didn't.
We're out on the deck of
Show them the view. Well, I guess
our
you
little lake cabin.
want to show them the view?
So yeah, okay. So this is us on this side, and that's we're enclosed by hog wire, but that's there. There's the other view.
And
And
there's Scabs.
there's Scabigail, who's apparently heard something. She doesn't like jet skis very much. So
No, we didn't.
anyway, since we never get to do, we're lounging on beanbag chairs, by the way,
Outdoor
which kind of
beanbags.
makes me look like Jabba the Hutt, but I'm just going to go with it. Somebody feed me a frog.
Does that make me
We-
Carrie Fisher?
Well, you would rock that outfit that Carrie Fisher had on, the gold, the metal, yeah. You have that?
No, I don't have that.
Shit.
And I would do for Halloween, but
So
it's
we're-
a little
we're-
chilly. Remember this wine that we talked
we're
about on
Going through
Tuesday?
yet another bottle of this Rioja that we talked about the other night, and eating some beet hummus that Elizabeth made.
All kinds of red
And
happening.
a lot of red happening. That we're dipping with potato chips because that's the only other thing we have here. So we're doing this because we almost never get to answer questions with you guys, and so Elizabeth went through the feed.
The last one, and I was actually I intended to go through several of them, but I didn't. Because there was, I haven't sat and watched the live feed. We don't usually go back and watch the show. It's really interesting to go back and
No, we watch the
show.
dishes and go to bed.
It's like, oh.
Usually slightly
I
tipsy.
forgot we talked about that. And
with an
yada,
early
yada,
morning
yada.
the next day. So anyway, so she's pulled questions. I have no idea what they are because I was lazy because I had a long week shooting. So there you go.
Right. And I don't know what that's
It's not.
about.
Oh, it's because it's. Oh no, it's only 6 here.
I
So
fed
it's
them.
not dinner time yet. You fed them.
Yeah.
Oh, shut the hell up then.
They may be after the hummingbirds. We have a hummingbird situation.
We have a very feisty killer. You've heard about the killer hornets, or is that what they call them? Killer hornets.
So,
Out in Washington, we have killer hummingbirds here. Very violent sect of anarchist hummingbirds.
try to fly between your
Yeah.
ears through your brain.
They don't even, they try to attack you even when you're trying to feed them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
like that.
we know that we never get to answer your questions, so we thought that we would take some time Saturday evening
And
to share.
what we'll do, maybe we'll do this well, I'm not going to promise, every couple of weeks, maybe, or 3 weeks or something. And
This
so,
is the first I've heard of it, by the way.
well, it's only because we need to compile. I need to be better about just compiling questions, I guess.
Well,
Or we do.
you're the compiler, and you have chosen questions.
Well, and soon you'll be done shooting Good Eats.
And
although it's starting.
Good Eats season, whatever, will be done in about a week, shooting, and
You'll be back to whatever normal.
and then
I don't even know what
the
normal
only
looks
the
like.
only show that's scheduled right now to be on Food Network is The House That Dripped Chocolate, our Halloween 1 hour Halloween special on October 8 at 9. Shut your pie hole.
We don't know.
They're barking at. They're both.
Franny.
In this part of the country, you need dogs to work the perimeter, make sure everything's safe.
Scabs was all over. So our dock, show them our dock. These people,
Well, they saw her.
I know, but so they can see that.
It's close. Right there's
I
the.
don't know if you guys can see, but there's we're decked in underneath the covering there, and Scabs all of a sudden went hauling ass down. Franny.
With her little bitty mouth.
With
and
her little-
bitty
She
Because
sounds
there was
like a
some
banshee.
there was some Fisher person.
There was a Fisher person in our dock, and she
Fisher
was just
person.
down there like, he was an old man. He was very sweet. I don't know what Franny's barking at.
A shadow. And some more jet skis are coming. So
More
what,
jet skis.
my darling?
Okay,
Let's
so-
let's start with the question. First off, how many questions are there? Because then I'll know how to kind of pace.
It could have been what, 13. And then, maybe we can, where did we go here in the winter? See all those kind of questions.
About the winter?
Somebody's asking if we go in the winter. We can give you a little tour. We have a wood
Here in the
stove.
winter? Yes,
Here.
we have a wood stove.
So we have these questions, and then maybe there'll be some here.
Okay.
Because you're the loyal 600 or however many.
The 600.
The
Oh,
loyal
can't wait for the special.
1,600.
Well, I know that it's Saturday night, and other people have something to do. On
I
Saturday.
know, and we announced it like 2 hours ago, or something,
Something.
3 hours ago.
I don't know.
Okay, so some of the ones I'd written down the name, and then others they still went by so fast that I couldn't. So, Orion Science the difference between cane syrup and molasses? Are they totally
Cane
different
syrup.
things?
Cane syrup is typically made from earlier in the refining process. So you basically condense out the sucrose, the table sugar, and then there's still a lot of other stuff left over because cane isn't just. These people just go around and around in circles on jet skis. I don't understand. And as you take different grades of liquid off of that and continue to reduce it, the one that you end up with the last is blackstrap molasses. Blackstrap molasses is never going to really crystallize because there's way too many big, massive, weird sugars that are left over from the grass. So if on a continuum, there'd be table sugar, the refined stuff at one end, and then kind of in the middle you'd have golden syrup because golden syrup can be refined further down, and then you've got blackstrap molasses, which is the end of it.
What's Caro? Caro is corn.
Caro syrup ain't got no
Totally
sugar in
different.
it. That's all corn. Well,
Well,
sugar.
that's sugar.
It doesn't have cane
Cane sugar.
sugar.
Okay.
So, and then you get into all these fine derivations of like treacle and black treacle and all these
Yes,
other
that's a
derivatives, but
very
they're all
British.
basically different distillates, if you will,
Treacle's like
of the liquid.
very dark, isn't it?
Treacle is very, very close to molasses.
Yeah.
But molasses is actually even more bitter and
I
sulfuric
thought treacle was. Okay.
than treacle.
that wrong.
But they're made from very close to the same processes.
And maple syrup is obviously not cane. That's tree sap.
Tree sap, boiled down, boiled.
Boiled. You lived in Vermont for a bunch of years, so
I lived in Vermont. I loved Vermont.
did you ever do the thing where you tapped a tree?
I worked in a sugar bush, is what they call the kind of a little forest of sugar maples during the season. And what most people don't realize is that when it comes out of the tree, the sap's almost like water. It's barely sticky. It's not like tree sap. It's like water.
Right.
And it requires a lot of boiling down. But once you've lived in Vermont, you're usually a B grade amber person. Although they've changed the grading of maple
you
syrup
did
in the
on
last
your
few years.
show,
And
you
we
talked
did
about
that
that.
on the show. It's ridiculous now, I think, and it's because we got in cahoots with the Canadians on the whole maple thing, which I'm not sure we should have done. Because now you can't just get grade B amber anymore because it's called grade robust tasty or some dumbass shit like that. So
Wow.
I have feelings.
No, I mean that's.
I have strong feelings.
Yes, you do. Understandably. Okay. So somebody asked. I mean, these are just random questions. Like,
You'll be chosen for
kind
a
of-
reason, though.
I mean,
You had feelings.
well, no, I don't know. I mean, I was trying to be fair about all. So, and then maybe we covered it later. But Lauren, somebody asked about our rhino. Tell them about your rhino, Apollo, which I kind of thought we'd covered, but maybe we didn't. And because it's such an important thing right now to save all the animals.
The
if we
name of the
can.
organization, though, because you gifted it. You gifted me Apollo.
Yes, it's Sheldrick Wildlife Refuge or Sheldrick Foundation. It's
Right.
SHELD as in David RICK or Delta CK.org.
Which is
And
very cool.
on Twitter, I can't remember if I found them on Twitter first or how they came
Go
to me.
home. Go eat dinner. Quit going around in circles on jet skis.
You guys hear them?
Seriously.
Probably can hear them.
I'm gonna do some target practice here. Moving
Okay.
targets. So Apollo is a baby. Well, actually,
It's a black rhino.
he's a baby black rhino. He's what is he? 18 months now. I want to say.
No, yeah, they had,
He doesn't write very well.
they-
He sends letters, but they're very, very
They,
rudimentary.
They rescued him. His mother had been
His mother had been killed.
had been killed,
Had
and
been
he was
poached.
alone. He was tiny. I don't know how. Ooh, that was a hummingbird that just.
Another
like,
one of those damn renegade hummingbirds.
sounded beautiful.
So I hope to see Apollo one day. And Elizabeth has an elephant. What's your elephant's name?
It's like Shamala or something.
See,
I kind
Apollo
of-
is so much easier to say.
I know, and I felt her. She wasn't. She's a little homely.
She's not the prettiest elephant.
She's not the prettiest. And I just felt badly for her because
She's an ugly elephant.
she's not very pretty. I'm sure she's got a great personality though.
Kind of like Scabigail.
somebody
But
else
Apollo,
barking.
Apollo's a rock star. He's very good looking.
And how much is it to adopt? I think it was like
we do it. We re-up every 6 months.
it's like
don't
I do it for a bunch of years, and it was like 350
That's
bucks.
pre-college, though. College years, shit goes up big time. But I'm hoping that Apollo will get scholarships. He's going to get an athletic
He
scholarship.
will. Yeah.
He's pretty buff.
He's a big guy.
And an impressive horn, ladies.
But I do, and they do. They just had a video the other day on Twitter that they were rescuing a giraffe. So they
I didn't know
do
they do
giraffes
that. Right.
and zebras and.
I hope that one day we will get to go and volunteer to work there. That's what I hope. Because
That would
then I
be
can
really
finally
amazing.
use my rhino saddle. Apollo! Ow!
I don't think that they want you to ride him.
But you promised.
No. I never did.
You said I could ride a rhino. I'm
That's
crushed.
somebody else.
You tricked me.
Someone else promised you that. And then
Somebody else promised
Much
me that.
deeper voice
Some
than
other
me.
somebody with a deeper voice. You could
with a
ride
deeper
a
voice.
you could ride a rhino.
Apollo
That's a very
Jones.
Barry White thing to say.
Was it Apollo Jones? Was that what we were trying? We were like
Apollo Jones.
Apollo Jones.
Apollo Jones.
If we had a,
Oh.
I don't know, as a child, I named
We
it
have
Apollo
a-
Jones Brown. I don't know. Okay. Someone asked if Franny was getting some merchandise or a pin, and Franny is gonna get some merch.
He's getting like 10 pins. No, I'm kidding.
I
Yes,
know.
there'll be a Franny. Oh, he's asleep because that's what
Francie.
old dogs do. So yes, we're going to do a Franny pin, and proceeds will go to the Humane Society as before.
Yeah, we know. There'll be like one pin sold like every 25.
Well, you know, or
Scouts.
maybe we'll make
Did
it a
that.
special prize for certain things too.
He's such a sweet.
He's the good dog.
But he doesn't have.
He doesn't have that.
that it factor. We know this.
Yeah, Scabs has got the it factor. Scabs, where are you?
That's all right. All right. And I asked you this question too. Does the way that you cut an onion keep you from crying? Is there a certain?
No, but the sharper the knife, the less the tears. That is something that's been argued against. I believe it true though, because you break up less of the cellular matter if you use a really sharp knife. So I strongly believe the sharper the knife, the fewer tears you will have.
Because you don't cry very often.
I cry inside.
But do you get used to? I mean, do people get used to?
You do, and what happens is that
I've asked
as
chefs
you
this,
cut
and they said
more and
yes.
more onions, the less and less it bothers you. Why? I don't really understand from a physiological standpoint, because it's the chemicals work in your eyes to make kind of a version of sulfuric acid. But
And you wear glasses, so you probably don't get it.
it doesn't bother me as much. But I will hit one every now and then that will really send me over. But in the days when I used to have to cut 50 pounds of onions at a time, I got to where it didn't bother me at all.
You could just do that stuff.
But
Yeah.
if you really, really have a problem with it, wear
Goggles.
goggles.
Little
Yeah.
swimming goggles.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
works.
So just the sharp knife, but
A
not
sharp
like.
knife, the worst thing that you can do is cut onions with a dull knife, because then you're really crunching through a lot of the cells, and that's releasing a lot more of the chemicals.
That is super helpful
So
to know.
there you go.
And
Sharp
I mean,
knife.
is there any reason to have anything but a really sharp knife in the kitchen?
You know, there are people out there that think that sharp knives are more dangerous, because if you're going to cut yourself, you're going to cut yourself worse with a sharp knife. That is not the case. The truth is you're a lot more likely to cut yourself badly with a dull knife, because you're going to
Same thing. It's going to tear.
you're going to apply more pressure, and then when the cut happens, it's going to be jagged, it's going to be nasty, and it's very easy to lose control of a dull knife.
So sharp knife is just cleaner in every way.
Cut me with a sharp knife any
And
day.
then, and these are not questions. Whetstone. I mean, it's funny because I've never seen you sharpen your knives.
That's because I'm not good enough at it for the level of sharpness that I want them to have, which is why I
have to send them
send
back.
my knives twice a year back to the people that made them.
Okay,
However,
what about the rest of us?
however, I do hope there's a really great shop in San Francisco that is probably the best place in America for whetstones and sharpening. They do clinics, and I want to go and learn how to really do it right, because I was not taught the correct way to do it. I wasn't. When I was in culinary school and in kitchens after that, people didn't
I
understand.
mean, those of us, and now I guess that doesn't include me anymore, but before you, you have like the different, like the thing that you like drag the knife through. I mean, those of us that don't send our knives back or don't go to the
So-
clinic, right? If we're
So
just normal people.
there's two things that go on. Okay. So a knife that has an edge can get out of true, right? Meaning that edge can get bent out of true. So what you do then is you hone the knife with a honing steel to bend that edge back.
But you have to know what you're doing.
You do, because
more
when you see
damage,
people
can't
in like restaurants, they're not doing shit. They want you, that you're doing it because you're watching them.
The thing where they take the, yeah.
No, to do that correctly takes a good bit of method, and you have to be able to listen to it. But you're basically, when you hone, you're bending the edge back in place, and that's why I use that flat one made by a company called Dick. It's called a multi-cut. It's a flat-sided or almost flat-sided steel. But eventually, what happens is that a knife will actually lose its edge entirely, in which case it has become truly dull. At that point, no level of honing is going to bring that edge back. At that point, you have got to sharpen the knife. You've got to take material off of the side to bring it back into an actual edge. And that's when you're much better off sending it to a professional, unless you are really trained in the use of whetstones. And a lot of
So you
places
get the
that
oil out and you do,
water.
okay, the water. Wet.
Real whetstones are used only with water.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole oil thing is BS. But a lot of really good knife sharpeners
big
use belts.
Yeah.
Use belt
Right.
sanders. So there are a lot of different ways to do it. But if you really want to do it right, you'll do it with a whetstone. And I hope to go to San Francisco to take that class. You know, when we
That
get
must
to
be really important because it's not your favorite place in the world.
San Francisco. Having played in the theater district of San Francisco, it's not because
What is that?
it's some gigantic bug crawling on you, because they have those in Alabama. The Tenderloin in the theater district of San Francisco, that's where the city of San Francisco likes to push all their homeless people to one place. So yes, the only times that I've actually witnessed intravenous drug use
You know,
and public pooping on a sidewalk within
well,
one block was in
I
San
have
Francisco.
a friend that, Sean and Elliot live in Berkeley. And he's lived there, he went to school there and he's lived there for
Well, Berkeley's a very
20
different thing.
plus years.
It's not San
No,
Francisco.
but he's saying that now too.
Oh, they poop on the streets there too. Okay.
He's like, anyway.
The West in general has very, 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 very
Well, they're,
aggressive street life. But the city was beautiful. Oh, and the last night that we played there,
Gandalf the Grey.
I don't want to talk about naked old men walking around, okay? But somebody like set a van on fire, sort of like in our tour bus next to this burning vehicle. I mean, San Francisco's a rough place,
No.
but it's beautiful.
And Portland's just, it's.
I love, Russian Hill is one of the
Oh yeah,
coolest
no, it's incredible. But it's
Northeast.
just interesting that this friend of mine, who's, avid. He lived in Santa Cruz for years, lived in Berkeley for the last 20 plus years, and he's like, California's everything, and he's like, it's.
One day it will fall off the planet,
Yeah.
but that's just a mathematical truth.
There's
and
something
then the real
Portland
estate
actually
prices.
has a bigger fault. Portland.
Portland.
I lived backing up to the Vista Hills, and it was like, yeah, I'm living in a fault. Okay.
I'm not going to live in California. I don't see it happening.
The next question is,
Okay.
this isn't really a question, but is an electric kettle a unitasker? This is like the ongoing debate.
Okay, so this whole unitasker thing got a little bit out of hand.
Yeah.
Because a unitasker is really defined by your own imagination. We have an electric kettle here. We have electric kettles at home. I love electric kettles because you can set them for very specific temperatures. So if you're brewing tea, or you're brewing single origin coffees where you want 203 degrees, but not 212 degrees.
I bet you could
then-
smash garlic with it too. I'm just saying. Like, what's the like you said, it got out of control with the unitasker thing.
No, because there are electric conduction things under there, and
Then
you'd
you can
clog
use
them
it.
up.
You can use it to cook, grill, or sear.
If you're going to identify a unitasker by, does it only boil things? I would say no, because an electric kettle, a good one, you can set for different temperatures, and that's critical. And there's a lot of things that require very specific water temperatures. So I think that if it is a unitasker, I'm not giving it up. And the ones that we have, which are made by a company called Fellows, Fellows, I adore.
That's this one, but then the other.
We have another Fellows, but it's a pour-over model, so the spout comes out
It
of the
looks
bottom.
very different, okay.
So I really, really like this a lot. You can also set them on the bottom for Celsius or Fahrenheit, which I find. I am a big fan of metric, except when it comes to temperature, because Fahrenheit has more degrees, therefore is a finer level of adjustment from freezing to boiling, because you've got 32 to 212 as opposed to 0 to 100. So
Fahrenheit
controllability.
sounds German, but the Germans go by the metric systems. They use Celsius. So why did someone create Fahrenheit?
I don't think it was German.
Okay.
It was Scottish.
Okay, maybe someone can look it up.
Pretty
Fahrenheit.
sure the guy's name.
Germans know how to measurement, but I don't think I'm right. But maybe
No.
what Fahrenheit?
No, Fahrenheit's not German.
Someone look it up, please. Anyone?
I mean, I know this.
Anyone?
I've had a lot of wine, so I'm not going to be
See,
able to remember
first
it.
last says German word.
What? Fahrenheit.
Austria?
Fahrenheit. Austria.
Fahrenheit.
There you go.
Poland. He says
That's from
Poland.
Poland.
Gesundheit.
Fahrenheit,
See, okay.
Gesundheit.
Well, you guys aren't being very helpful
Not
here.
being very helpful at all. Somebody just Google the
Just
damn thing
Google
for
it,
me, will ya?
please. Wax it often.
No, I'm not going to wax a dolphin because now I looked up wax a dolphin and I know what it means. I thought she just made that shit up because she
George
does
Carlin
that. She-
did a whole thing on it. This is a whole like famous George Carlin skit about it.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. He went on forever about it. All right.
You know the comedy routine we never got that we really deserved would have been Bill Cosby doing
Bill
a
Cosby and Jeffrey
routine
Epstein
would
together?
be doing. Well, I would have liked to have heard that conversation. Jeffrey, do you want some pudding? Bill, I've got lots of pudding. I like my pudding around 16. What do you like? I think it would have been hilarious. You know, a whole, if you just like owned it. You know, like, no?
I think so.
Too soon?
What I think is interesting is that Jeffrey Epstein ended up not well in prison, and Cosby sits there.
Yeah, Epstein didn't do very well in prison
Didn't do
at
well.
all.
And somehow Cosby is just still sitting there.
Well, you know.
Well, I guess he wasn't threatening anyone particularly important with knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, do we really think Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide?
Okay. What wine pairs well with antelope? This must
Malbec.
be a Westerner person.
Malbecs go wonderfully because that, to me,
Do
it's
we
a
have an
more.
answer about the Fahrenheit?
Nobody. I'm gonna have to go. Fahrenheit is
It's
German. Okay, it is
well,
German.
I don't know.
It's,
Polish, Dutch,
yeah, I think.
Oh,
there.
oh,
Oh, wait.
German.
September.
Okay.
Was it?
But the Germans don't use
I knew
Fahrenheit.
that. It was Daniel Gabriel Fahrenheit. No, they don't. They don't have to use it just because he was from there.
The Fahrenheit has more.
The history of why Europe ended up in the metric system has everything to do with trade. I read this big thing about it about 6 months ago because I was trying to understand when there were all these conventions that set and standardized what a meter was and what a gram was and what a kilo was, and it all had to do with trade. And there were a lot of people that didn't want things to be as generalized or as specific as they are to the.
Tens, right? I mean, it's an easier system to
Well,
understand.
it is an easier system to understand because it doesn't have fractions.
Right.
But when you're dealing with really finite degrees of temperature, Fahrenheit is better because, again, you've got more gradient, more degrees between freezing and boiling of water at sea level
And
on
like,
a standard pressure
in a
day.
way, like a stone. Like I'm 9 something, whatever. I don't even know. Stones.
That's all just
Like,
English shit. Who else would?
How many stones?
I don't know how many stones I am. I'm too many stoned.
You're
I don't
too
know. I
stoned?
don't know what a stone is. I'm not stoned. I don't do things to get stoned. I get drunk. I don't get stoned. I don't know how much a stone is in relation to a kilo.
I can't remember. Oh, please look this up. People,
We're just
we
gonna
need
use
you.
we're
We
gonna
need
use
you.
the internet. It's like, would you guys look that shit up?
Look it up. All right.
What's the next
So
question?
Malbec for antelope.
I
mean,
think
would've-
so. What do you like?
I've never had antelope. I've had venison. I've had bear.
I find it more acidic. I find it more acidic than.
When did
than-
you had antelope?
I've had antelope a bunch of times.
A bunch of times. While you're hanging out in Wyoming.
Yes, in
On the
fact, I
range?
was. In fact, for the first time I had it was in Wyoming.
Right. There's a whole. Well, actually, Oregon has a wildlife refuge. Or
I was
antelope.
I had just gotten out of the 10th grade. I was in Wyoming doing the Dude Ranch thing and had antelope.
The Dude Ranch thing.
I did well in Dude Ranch because I can ride a freaking horse
Can you really?
like a motherfucker. I was told a long
motherfuckers
time
are
ago,
horses.
treat horses like dogs, only they're smarter. You got to tell them how things are going to be.
Horses are smarter than dogs.
They are. You got to, and they're also quite a bit bigger.
Yeah.
You got to love them. You got to show them who's boss.
Yeah.
And you have to know what you're doing when you're on them because they're used to a set of inputs.
Yeah.
So if they realize that the rider doesn't know
Doesn't
what
know
the
what they're
inputs
doing.
are,
Trust
they
me.
got no respect.
Trust me.
So you gotta
I've
know.
been put on many a horse.
I
when-
was actually trained to ride English by
right. You did tell me this.
Patton's General Patton's polo partner, Colonel Graham. Yeah, it's a long, drawn-out
What,
story.
hanging out with Jay Gatsby and Daisy? Like,
Old sport. Well, old sport, have we poloed it today? No.
yeah,
But
you always give me crap for being like,
he
"No,
turned
we
out,
didn't.
I went to
No,
private
no, no,
school
no."
for 1 year. 1 year I went to private school. Sixth grade. And
And you
they had,
hobnobbed with.
and he was the riding instructor at this school. And
I went to private school and we didn't have horse.
oh my God,
Riding
they'd had the hugest fucking horses. They were ginormous. When you fell off of one of them or got thrown, you had time to really think about it before you hit the ground. You did. But no, I learned to ride English and I learned to jump but I always preferred Western. Anyway,
I'm gonna,
I can ride.
I had horse people in my life, and
I'm not saying I'm a horse person, by the way. I don't own a horse, would never own a horse.
I would know by now if you were a horse person.
Bobby Flay owns
This
horses.
would not be surprising. I mean, this would be surprising. This would be a shocking. Horse people are like, that's what their whole.
I'm not like John Wick. I can't like touch a horse and make it kick somebody in the head.
I like horses, but they are. There's a lot of animal there.
What was
For
the
sure.
line in the second Sherlock Holmes movie about you can't trust them at either end and they're tricky in the middle or something like that?
Yeah.
There's a wonderful line
Exactly.
because
Well, it's true.
Robert Downey Jr. won't ride a horse,
It's true.
and yeah, they're untrustworthy at both ends and tricky in the middle or something like that.
Yeah. The first one I've
Somebody
really
might
ridden in a
remember
long
that.
time. I got on my date or whatever put me on a horse.
Wait,
There's
wait,
his
your date?
sisters. Yeah, I had dates before you.
How old were you
22.
when this so-called date happened?
22. Anyway, oh, we got some motorcycle people.
There, you can see them go by. Yeah, people with Harleys at the end of the street. They're okay. They're
I
good
think it's
people.
a biker like club. We're not really sure.
Let's go down there.
Woo! That'll be our next.
I'll show up on BMW. They'll be like, "What the fuck?"
We'll take a camera in. You guys, we'll take you along with us. It'll be great. Anyway, I mean, like,
She means it.
it's a horse that hadn't tangles, that hadn't been ridden in like a year and a half, and my date puts me on the horse. She's like, "And go." I'm like, "Okay." Anyway, Tangle's like, "Fence, going for it," and like, Tangle's just heading for the fence. I'm like, "Fuck." So I just out of instinct, like, reached down and just reefed Tangle's heads around to stop Tangles.
What did you
in her
grab?
track.
Tangles was the name of the horse. What did
Yeah.
you grab when you reached around Tangles? Did you grab the
Her-
bridle or did you
her-
grab?
Her bridle, I guess. I mean, it was like one of those instinctual things to do. I just knew that I needed Tangles to stop.
So what you were really trying to do is break Tangle's neck.
No, I needed Tangles. No, I didn't do that. I was just like, no. And I still, it's like, you know, these weird, like your body knows what to do sometimes. Like there was no jumping off the horse. There was, and Tangles
Did you ever think that you would just go over the fence with Tangles?
No.
You didn't think Tangles would clear the fence?
Tangles was trying to get rid of me. Clearly.
I think your date was trying to say something too. How did that
in retrospect.
work out?
Well, 8 years later, it was, you know.
8 years later, what?
I no longer
That
have
was only
access
8 years
to
ago?
Tangles.
That was only 8 years ago?
No, long time. I was 22,
I was going to say.
and I'm not. I was 30. You
Hey.
do the math. I'm 54. You got to do the math. All right.
Is there a question for you to answer specifically?
I think there were some, but I don't think that people really.
She's more interesting than I am,
really.
guys.
All right. Way to remove garlic smells from hands, other than so this goes back to the garlic press thing. The reason I don't like smelling garlic, and if I do like touch garlic,
And you're
or
Polish.
part Polish, I guess. Yeah.
Well,
But
what's
like,
the
in the
other
middle
part?
of the night-
Vampire?
Balkan, which is probably Transylvania.
I have personally never found a reliable method.
People say stainless,
they do. Run your hands
There's
under
that, like
this.
the
Run your hands under
stainless
that.
egg. Well, that's a unitasker. The stainless egg thing. That's like the.
Well, that's a unitasker to everybody but Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's a really large egg. It's a very large egg.
What is it? A Yanni egg?
Yanni
What's that?
egg.
Because I can only think of Yanni when somebody says Yanni egg. I think
they've
about
invented it.
an egg that cracks open and a little Yanni comes out.
He's
Anyway,
laughing his way to the bank.
talk about I have tried the stainless steel thing. It didn't work.
It doesn't
work.
bother you. Like I know if I go to bed, like if I whatever garlic, and then in the middle of the night I wake, I'm not like I don't know if I scratch my nose. I'm like, oh my god, and I'm wide awake.
I
Like,
love it.
I don't.
I love it. I'll wash my hands because I don't want it to be sticky, but I love that aroma.
All right.
I do.
How long have you been collecting watches?
My fixation with watches goes back to childhood. I have had,
You did that video on with Hodinky.
yeah, I did.
We kind of talked about it. When you were like 6 or something. You went into a pawn shop. I don't know what it was, and you're like, I want the watch.
Hardware store.
Why were hardware?
My
stores
father
free?
awarded me with, told me when I was a kid that I could have a watch as soon as I learned how to tell time. I could pass the time test, which I did at 4. And so I got my first watch, which was a Timex at 4. And I have been
And kids
fixated
now
on them
don't
ever
have to
since.
learn that because they have the digital.
For me, it was like I cared more about watch. I cared so much
Timex.
about watches, and I would watch things on watches and view things on TV and movies. I was a major fan of Jacques Cousteau, and I was like watching them tootle around the world on the Calypso, and they always had the most badass watches.
Diving watches, right?
Oh, and diving
They were
watches were
who?
my thing. Most of those
Omega?
were Omegas, what's called the Plopov, and Rolexes, and so I became just huge fan of all of those. And then when I was old enough to start watching James Bond movies at like 7, I became fascinated with watches because you could learn a lot about watches from watching Bond
So you were
movies.
7 when you were watching James Bond.
Actually, my first memory in life
That's right.
is of a James Bond movie.
Watch at a drive.
Because my parents had a Triumph TR3, which has that little teensy beansy back seat, and they put me in it as a baby
put
to
the
go,
infant
and they
in the
went,
back seat of the
and they went
Triumph.
to a drive-in to see Dr. No, which came out the year I was born, 1962. And so my first memory of life, and people's like, well, you can't remember this. Well, I fucking well do, was the scene where the tarantula is supposed to be climbing up Sean Connery's chest, although he was too much of a wuss to let him do that, so they did it on glass. And I remember seeing that scene from back in my little carrier.
You called Sean
So-
Connery a wuss.
Well, anybody that doesn't let a regular old tarantula climb up their chest when they're a
No.
movie star is a wuss. Yes, completely.
I don't think I could do it. I'm not a movie star.
Having owned tarantulas as
I know.
pets,
Are you one of those weird kids in high school?
Yes.
It's like, oh, go over to Outland's house and play the tarantulas.
I had multiple tarantulas.
I had friends who had snakes, but no one had tarantula.
The snakes smell bad, and you have tarantulas. You go out in the yard, you find a cricket in the grass, and you throw the cricket in the cage. They eat the cricket, and they're good for like a month. They're super low.
Oh, they're economical.
They're very economical, and then one day they molt, and all of a sudden it looks like you've got 2 tarantulas. It was very exciting. Anyway, so watches.
Your mother's a good sport. I don't know what I would have done if I'd had a
You've got
child
a
and been
lot
like,
of-
Mom, I'll have to have a
lot of
tarantula. I
ex-husbands who would say
don't
that.
know.
Well, my first tarantula I smuggled back from L.A.
I
Remember, it
don't-
was the summer of the Dude Ranch, and I had gone from Wyoming to California to visit friends. Saw Star Wars, the original, the real one,
1977.
and 77.
Yeah, I said.
And I bought a tarantula and a big thing of crickets. You've heard me tell the story, to feed to the tarantula. And I decided to smuggle it home in like this duffel bag. And so I'm on a Delta L1011. I'll never, you guys
before the
remember
days
the
of,
L1011s?
like-
It's TriStar, wide body jet, 3 engines.
That's before
Lockheed, doesn't matter.
the stuff you hold in your head. Like, who
I'm an
knows
80
this? Oh, the Delta wide body TriStar with the double.
I was on the red eye, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the night on the red eye, some woman jumps up, like yells, screaming, 5 rows back, that something got on her. And then about 10 minutes after that, the crickets started chirping, and the thing of the crickets had opened, and the crickets had distributed themselves throughout the entire coach cabin, and were singing. They were all over the fucking place.
So
and it was
Delta,
my
if you've been
fault.
looking for the guy,
Delta, if you're still looking for the guy to put on the no-fly list for the 1977 cricket incident on the Lockheed TriStar,
I'm sure there are all kinds of snakes. And thank God the tarantula didn't get out. Jeepers.
tarantula was fine, but all the crickets were gone. I made a bad choice. I was a kid.
I don't know if I had had a child who was like I want a tarantula. I don't. I think I might would have had to put the kibosh on that.
Well, what you don't know, you can't kibosh, can you? Because I didn't ask.
But you just showed up with it. I still
I
don't
did.
think I'd
I
be
just
like,
showed up with it.
welcome.
This is not this. This is becoming about my childhood.
I have a problem.
which I'm uncomfortable with.
Okay.
What's another question?
So
How are we doing on
collecting
time?
watches. You started
Anyway,
when you were little.
so I've collected watches ever since, and there have been times that I've had to purge the collection during my divorce, and I had no money. I had to sell all of them. I sold my entire collection because I didn't have money. But now I'm down to just I don't have that many, as you know. I have I don't have more than
Define.
10,
I
I have
don't even
like
know.
10
I have no
watches.
idea how many you have.
and I'm not a snob. I mean, look, I'm wearing a G-Shock for God's sakes. But I've got a couple of okay pieces. But I'm very passionate about them, and I'm very passionate about the specific references and the movements. And it's the first thing I look at on a man. I meet a man, I look at his watch. It tells you a lot.
No, wait a minute. My fingers are pink because I made the B Thomas. What about a woman? Because we've been talking about this, that women and watches. In fact, what
I
happened
will
to
definitely
Crown
look.
Caliber?
I will definitely look at.
We were doing
We were going to do a thing with. Well, we've had this whole
COVID.
pandemic thing.
Well,
I will definitely check out a woman's watch. Definitely.
you just said
But
men,
it doesn't
so
mean
maybe-
as much. Because men, when they meet men, need to be able to sum up men. When
Shoes don't do it.
I will definitely check out a
I
woman's
check out a
shoes.
guy's shoes right away.
Sure
And-
you will.
And a woman too, but
Scabs,
Scabs
oh,
disagrees.
come
She's
here.
like, what?
where are
I
you?
fucking wear a watch. Like,
Yeah, we had a goddamn watch. Come here. Is she on the bed? Can you tell? Can you look at her? Oh, here she comes.
here she comes.
Hey, Scabs. Come here, girl. Come here. Come here. Come on.
She has some things to say.
She's
about
not going to
this.
come to me. She doesn't want me.
Come here.
Fine. To hell with her. I'm not going to feed her anymore. I don't. Men don't have to evaluate women the way they have to evaluate
Well,
men.
did it used to be men's cufflinks? Like at a time, do you think that it was or tie tacks or tie pins? Like we just don't have.
Shut the fuck up. Come here. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Come here. You won't come with me.
Scabbers, come here. I don't know what her deal is. Scabbers.
Cufflinks are not something
here.
I'm gonna. Most men wear a watch. Oh, come here. Oh,
I don't know what she's
Jesus.
doing. Come here.
She's being very. Most men don't wear cufflinks, but most men wear watches.
Yes, I know. I'm just wondering back in the day. Okay. So,
Anyway, that's enough about watches.
okay.
There's Scabs.
There she is. Do we forage in our garden in season? Yes. So
Definitely.
I try. It's hard with the lake house. I mean, gardens just take a lot of work, and we kind of split our time between here and there, and so. But I have carrots coming in and parsnips coming in. You can open another bottle. This is like low. I'm not going to say it's low alcohol, but I feel
I'm
like
not going to
it's
slay
less-
its low alcohol.
That.
What?
Yes, we do forage in our garden. Whoever asked that question. Okay. Who has more shoes, Elizabeth or Elton?
Holy shit. Let me tell you something.
I don't know.
Oh, Elizabeth.
You have racks of clothing. So do I.
Look, I have clothes left over from like Iron Chef and stuff. I have maybe total 12 pairs of shoes. You, on the other hand, have 1,200 pairs of shoes.
Not that many.
Oh, you're right. Because half of them are boots. So you're right. That's different. No, you are the shoe queen. You
But
are
yet
the
I wear like the
Imelda
same
Mark.
pair.
I've never seen you wear the same pair twice.
Oh, no, I do. And you know what? I have a
You're
lot
the
of
Imelda
high
Marcos
heels.
of-
Anybody that's got a size 9 woman's shoe? Because I have a lot of really great, like, high heel. I don't know. I went to the high heel thing, and I don't anymore at all.
Calling Stevie Nicks. You have serious Stevie Nicks shoes. You have like Belladonna shoes.
I have.
And then you've got a lot of just like, we're going to go out and get drunk and get in a fight boots.
Well, yeah, you can't have your toes crushed when you're in the pit. That's true. Yeah, I've got
The answer is Elizabeth owns more of everything. I don't even have a closet anymore.
You have a whole room.
I put stuff on the spare bed. I have nothing hung up anymore. And I have some suits. That's all I got.
Yes, we have a lake bin. Someone's like, "Oh, you have a lake bin." We do have a lake bin. Someone's like, they were like, "Oh, you're really organized," and that made me so happy.
We have bins. We have a system.
I have implemented a system
Jeez, implemented a system.
that because we do. It's really every 5 days back and forth, and so it's like if something has to come to the lake, it goes in the bin, and the bin has.
Because Friday evening, as soon as I wrap, we leave and we come here. We haven't been in Georgia for a weekend in a long time.
It's been a while. Look
Or in
how here,
Alabama.
show the people how beautiful it is now. It's very mellow.
Yeah, Alabama's. Oh wait, I'm trying.
Yeah,
It's
see?
the. There are bats flying around out there in the tree.
Yeah. And we actually get stars, which is great. Okay.
Yes, the stars are very
Which
bright.
is surprise stars at night. Okay. Favorite Bond film.
Texas. I can talk about this all freaking night because James Bond. I actually wrote an essay called "James Bond is My Dad." Culturally, if you were a man who was born in the 1960s, you cannot escape James Bond as a cultural figure. I am. I used to be like super true to the Church of Sean Connery, but not so much anymore. And I will say that my favorite Bond film is Casino Royale. I think that
Hands down.
I think Daniel Craig. If you're a fan of the books, and I've read all the
Hands
books,
down.
all the books, multiple times, I don't think anybody. The only thing that Daniel Craig doesn't do is he doesn't hit on a certain Britishness, a certain Englishness.
And yet,
But everything else, what? Well, I get that. But the truth is, he was more English in Layer Cake, for God's sake, than he was in the Bond films. But I do think that when we look back, we will think that although
he's
his
far
films
more human. He's far more nuanced.
his
he's
films
far more.
have not necessarily been the best. Spectre sucked. Quantum of Solace sucked. But Casino Royale
Look at the
and
geese.
Skyfall.
Show them the geese. That's like an amazing.
God,
We've
these
watched
geese.
these geese
Yeah, these geese.
grow up.
We watched
They
them
were-
grow up, and we named them all Ryan Gosling.
Ryan.
And now they fly around in attack formation. Could I beat up Guy Fieri in a fight? I'm not going to answer that. Yes. Yes, I could beat up Guy Fieri in a fight. Because he would have to be like all diplomatic about Flavortown and being the mayor, and I don't have any of that. So. Anyway, Daniel Craig, best Bond, my favorite, Casino Royale, but then immediately after that, Goldfinger.
So for me, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way. I mean, of course I watch Bond. Of course I've been watching Bond since I've been a little girl. As like
You're
very
kind of a Bond
kitschy,
girl in a lot of ways.
well, I guess that's a compliment.
Because Maud Adams could have played you in the movie like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Maud Adams? She was the only girl that played a Bond girl twice in both Man with a Golden Gun and Octopussy.
Let's see a photo.
Okay, so we'll do it later.
But he was sort of this sort of kitschy icon, this very bon vivant, like a non-person. He was.
Kitschy?
Yeah, he's a very sort of
Because of
kitschy-
Roger Moore. You're talking about the Roger Moore
No,
years.
but even no, definitely Sean Connery too. I mean, just-
Kitschy?
yeah, the whole Goldfinger, the whole like the girl painted gold bullshit. Like, come on,
The
like,
gold-painted gold
girl
bullshit?
painted
What?
gold. Yes, I mean it was like, it was just kind of icon. It wasn't.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die?
Okay. Yes. See, that's.
I'm pussy galore.
But then,
I must be
Pussy galore.
dreaming.
And then David, I mean, Daniel Craig comes in and he's like, he's fallible and he's damaged.
He's
and
also a killer.
hurt.
A killer.
Yeah, he's a killer.
One of his best moments
And
as
that's-
Bond is in my least favorite Bond movie, or one of my least favorites, which is Quantum of Solace. So you remember when he first gets to Haiti, to Port-au-Prince, he's in this hotel room and he has this fight. You remember this fight?
Yeah.
And he like kills this guy with like a piece of glass. And he does this thing where he's got like his hand over the guy's mouth, and he looks up and he looks around to see if anybody's watching. And it is a cold-blooded killer move. He completely shifts his attention away from the death to who might be seeing me. And it's a beautiful little piece of it's a lovely actor thing.
Well, and the relationship between Judi Dench and himself, and that he is, and this is, I mean, I have my own people in my
Mommy's
life that I
been
call
very
my
bad.
007s, and I call them that because not only can they do a variety of things, these are like install, Jason, if you're watching, which you're not, but whatever,
It's
like
getting dark.
people that I need, that I work at and need with them, collaborators. But I also know that with their ability to do a variety of things, there's going to be some quirky personality. Like someone who's able to do all of these things is also not going to be like maybe the calmest, you know.
Well,
and I like that whole James Bond as a character in movie is going to be a very damaged individual because of what he's gone through.
okay,
Because
but he's also a lot more fun to hang around with than, say, Jason Bourne, because he knows what caviar to get.
well, that's not even a conversation. They're both damaged. But my point is, Daniel Craig, or at least the writers that have written these series of James Bond, have created a far more interesting character to me.
Agreed, and I cannot wait.
I never found Sean Connery to be interesting. The character did not interest me. I could have cared less.
We had tickets for the opening night of No Time to Die when it got pushed
COVIDed.
for COVID. I almost wanted to just keep the tickets, but Fandango instantly. Anyway, November, we'll have No Time to Die.
Really?
Yeah,
Just in
it's
time for
coming out in
flu
November.
season.
There are certain things I'm willing to do.
The last question
Last
was, well, there
Okay.
could be so many in the players tonight. Is Scabs a French Bulldog or a Boston Terrier? We think she's a Boston Terrier, but she's also part pig, we're pretty sure,
Look,
as you guys have heard.
I mean, she's got no Frenchie in her, because when you look at her head proportions, she's far more Boston Terrier. But we're pretty sure that there's some pig and some Chihuahua in her. That her head and her general dimensions are not that of a Frenchie.
Of a Frenchie, even though
No, so she's.
you kept trying to say she was maybe a Frenchie.
Well, it's because I want a Frenchie. I love French Bulldogs, I admit.
I want a Brussels Griffon, but we're not going to get.
Brussels Griffon. There are no rescues, though. We're not going to go buy ones.
No, we're not. So
So Scabs is a Boston.
she's a Boston.
And something besides pig. Boscofra. That's
Probably
right.
pig.
That's pig. Latin. Boscofra, I think.
Something like that.
Anyway, it's getting dark. Should
Yeah.
we sign off?
We should shine off.
We should shine off.
Shine off.
Anyway,
Shine
thanks for joining us. We answered some of your questions. We'll be back for a special edition of Quarantine Kitchen on Tuesday, because it is our second wedding anniversary on Tuesday.
And also debate night, and we talked about that.
And it's
So-
debate night. That's the same. That is the same night, isn't it? So we talked about doing a pre-debate drink fest, and then I think that what we ought to do is we ought to devise a game by which we do shots, but we've got to figure out the words. So like every time Trump says something, we do a shot, and then every time Biden says something, we do a shot. But we haven't figured out what they are yet.
We have to figure that out. I think we have to watch some.
We have to figure out
I mean,
when we do the shots and what shots we do.
you got an early morning shooting schedule.
I have an early
Some
morning shooting
meetings.
schedule the next. So whatever I do, I can't
Oh
drink that
no,
much.
no, because Wednesdays when you're going to be doing that other thing,
Yeah, but I still have an early day,
Yeah.
so it's okay.
and I'm going to be helping you.
So I'll have to figure out what. Well, I guess because Trump doesn't drink, which is why I don't trust him. He drinks Diet Coke.
We assume that Biden. The moon's coming out. It's in
I
the
wonder what
water.
Biden drinks. Does anybody know? Is Biden ever? He's Catholic, so we know he drinks wine because he
Wine.
goes to communion. So
Probably
what else?
whiskey too.
You think?
Catholics. I don't know why I think that. So that's then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we will see you Tuesday.
So anyway,
And we'll do this again
when it's not dark.
when
It got dark naturally.
maybe earlier. Maybe more like we tried to do it at 6 o'clock, but because we're in Alabama, we didn't. Whatever. YouTube made it 7.
It's your moment of zen. It's your moment of zen, everybody. Soak it up. Give her one of those things that you do when you blow on her belly.
Oh, snorkel.
S-
Raspberry?
Raspberry?
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, ready. And on that note, good night.